Hello and welcome to another lesson about Bluefort's license and subscription app, embedded in Microsoft Dynamics 365 Finance for Supply Chain, otherwise known as Finance and Operations apps. In this lesson, we'll be discussing some features related to add-ons and other important validations you would set up on your product. So let's jump straight into the application. We will go to Product Information Management and Product, and we will find our first product, which is D365 for Finance. And if we scroll right to the bottom, there is a tab which is called Subscription Management. Here we define that the product is actually a subscription product, which makes it visible and selectable in the licensing cockpit. There's also an offer ID, which is also shown on the invoice. Then there is a minimum quantity per subscription plan. So this means that it is not possible to sell less than this amount for this product within one plan. Then there's the program type, which we've set to Cloud Solution Provider. There's another lesson about program types if you're not sure how those work. And there's also a subscription type. Like we covered in previous lessons, a subscription type can be either perpetual enhancement, per unit, or consumption. It is important to set up these two fields correctly because these two fields are the basis of the filtering within the licensing cockpit. And then there's the add-on, and the add-on is actually a flag which shows you whether this particular product is an add-on. I will show you later on in this lesson how to configure an add-on. And then there's the standard subscription type from projects. So this actually derives what is the type of subscription plan which is generated when you create a subscription plan from a project, whether it's standard, meaning that you'll manage the subscription billing end-to-end from within the subscription cockpit. It's project, which means that you would manage your billing from the standard functionality related to projects, or whether you would like a retail or an asset type of subscription. So that is basically the configuration for my product, and typically such attributes are driven either by the product team or by the vendor of the product. So they do not really change between one legal entity and the other. They are applicable to across legal entities and sometimes even across different partners and companies. So that is the reason why these fields are actually on this level. Now I'll go out and browse to another product. This time is going to be this one here, and in this case we have an attach product. So this product attaches to the one you previously saw, and in this case, besides the other attributes we saw, it's also marked as an add-on. So how do we know that this product is an add-on? We do that using the standard functionality of related products. So here we see the parents, actually those products which could potentially be parents of the current product. So the relationship type, we've defined it as a license dependency, and we know that this license dependency is actually the one applicable to our license and subscription app, because if we go to subscription management, subscription management parameters, this is where we define which is the relation that we'll be using for our subscription relationships. Of course, you could still use the relationship functionality, which is standard for other purposes within your organization, but for the purpose of setting subscription parents and subscription child, then you would need to set up this relationship type here in the parameters. So now let's move to the subscription management cockpit within subscription management, and we'll filter on our favorite customer, which is Contoso, and we will create a new subscription plan. We'll define the CSP, which is a per unit subscription by default, and click OK. This process has already been covered in previous lessons, so that is why I'm going swiftly through it. We'll create a new line, and just like I described earlier, there's a validation and a lookup filter which shows only products which are per unit subscriptions and of the same program type. So this is very important because actually it avoids errors being done by users where they think they are selling a per unit subscription under a specific program type, but they select the wrong product. So let's go ahead now and create this item. This is the same one we've seen before, which is the finance. And again, let's assume here that the user will make a mistake. Okay, so we had a minimum quantity, if you recall, on this SKU, which is 1, which was 20, sorry, and now we've entered 1. So if I click OK, now I will get a warning message that, well, the minimum is 20, so I am not able to sell one of this. So let's now say I've added 20, which is in line with the minimum. In this case, if I click OK, the validation passes and I'm allowed to create the line, and I'm sure you can imagine how useful and important this is to avoid users making mistakes. So now let's assume that we will add another line of the same type, which is the 0218, and we'll add a quantity of 5, or let's do it 10 actually, and we will create this line and now have a total of 30. Okay, so now let's do another check. So let's assume that we are progressing within this subscription plan, and the customer actually wants now to reduce some quantity because time passed. They reduced the workforce, maybe could be different reasons. So in this case the total is actually 20 plus 10, which is 30, minus 5, which is 25. So if I publish this plan, this will publish successfully because 25 is larger than 20. If I unpublish this plan then, and I'll go ahead and deactivate the first line and give a reason code, then all of a sudden, as you can imagine, we end up with 5 licenses in this snapshot of the subscription plan. Please note that the 20 quantity line has been disabled. However, if you'd like to see it, you can still use the show all option, and then we can see here that it is actually still exists but disabled. So what happens if I publish the plan now? If I publish the plan now, there is a publishing failed. And this is basically enforcing those validations we've set up on the product level. So across the plan at a particular point in time, you must have a minimum basically of 20 quantity for this product, as like we said, as imposed by the supplier or the product team which is designing the product. So this is the quantity validation. So there's a validation when you are creating a subscription plan line, and there's another validation when you're actually doing the publishing. So the publishing contains logic to validate your plan to make sure that it is aligned with your suppliers. Now let's now take the scenario of the add-on. So let's create a new plan. Same concept like we did earlier in this lesson and in previous lessons. And now I will directly try creating the add-on, and immediately on line entry you can see that it says the add-on is not applicable as none of the dependent subscription products exist in the current subscription plan. And again, this is a very critical validation because it avoids salespeople or AR people or billing administrators actually from selling something which cannot be sold, because of course you can't sell an add-on without selling the main product. So let's switch now back to the original product. Let's add that one first. Remember, we need a minimum of 20, quantity 20. We'll click OK. We'll create a new line, and now we'll use again the add-on, and this time, as you can see, the validation is successful because I am allowed actually to sell this add-on because the parent product is there. So something which is important to note also when we have an add-on is that there is this new field which appears, which is the add-on percentage. It is not mandatory to enter the value in this field, but you could, so if it's empty, it will use the default sales price per month which is inherited from the released product or from the trade agreements. But if you set a percentage here, let's say 10%, then the pro rata sales amount will be recalculated as the 10% of the parent product. So there you see we have now we've entered 10%, and the pro rata sales amount has been recalculated. So you either enter a fixed sales price per month, or else you can put an add-on percentage, which is a percentage across the parent lines of this add-on. It is important to note that for this add-on percentage, if you'd like it to calculate the percentage of a certain number of parent lines, then it must be created afterwards. I mean, naturally you would do that because the validation will stop you, so you will first create the parents and then you'll create the add-ons. But if you have multiple parents with multiple add-ons, you have to ensure that you create those in the correct order so that the percentage is calculated on the add-ons which have a smaller line number, on the parents which have a smaller line number than the add-on. So that's an important trick there. So I can click OK, and there's a 10% like we discussed before, and if I'm allowed now to publish the plan. it was successful, the publishing. But like we saw before, if I unpublish the plan and go on the parent line and I deactivate it, giving a reason code, the deactivation will work. However, once again, like we saw before, the publishing will fail. So again, this stops people from doing something which is actually not in line with the requirements of the business. So again, add-on is not applicable as none of the dependent subscription products exist in the current subscription plan. So in the published snapshot, this line number 1 in this case does not exist because it's not enabled. So you are not allowed to publish your plan without fixing the problem, basically. And these add-ons and validations, like you can see, they are properly enforced here in the subscription cockpit, but they're also enforced in the quotation flow. So when you're quoting for subscriptions, you will get similar validations like these. So you can't, for example, quote for less than 20 in this case for this product, and even you can't quote for add-ons on their own. Same functionality also exists when you are creating subscription plans from a project, from the project in the project module. Same concept applies. The quotation and the project flows you will see in a future lesson in this course. I hope you enjoyed this lesson and you learned a lot. And you can also imagine the value proposition of this functionality. Please stay tuned for more lesson, and thank you for listening.